Welcome to Blocks Live TV. Today is Wednesday, March the 8th. We're now live with the latest in the crypto world. It's 9:30 a.m. in New York City, 2:30 p.m. in London, 11:30 p.m. in Tokyo, and 3:30 p.m. here in Malta. While the digital assets have made a move higher to recover from Monday's decline, and the total market capitalization is back above the $133 billion level. The cryptocurrency index CCI 30 has been on the rise, and it appears to be back to the way to test the 2,300 point level. The index is up by more than 4% so far this year and stands 1% in the green month to date. The 30-day Bitcoin volatility index has remained flat at slightly less than 3% after rising sharply on Monday of last week. The 24-hour traded volume has been building up rapidly, and it's now approached the $35 billion level. The most recent market increase has pushed the Bitcoin dominance indicator slightly below the 52% mark. The market share of the crypto king has been close to this level for most of the past month. The top 5 digital assets are all in the green, and the rise is led by EOS and Litecoin. Bitcoin looks to test the $3,900 level as Monday's decline has been recovered to form a reverse Bart Simpson pattern, while Ether has surged on increased daily traded volume of more than $5 billion as it tests the $140 resistance line. XRP has returned above the 31-cent level. EOS has jumped by double digits towards $3.80, which is the highest level since February the 24th. Litecoin has surged as well, printing a new high for the year at slightly more than $54. The Coin 360 heat map showcases how bullish the day is, with various shades of green across the board. According to the Token Spread website, the biggest buy and sell side difference for the Bitcoin dollar pair is on the XMO exchange, and it's 0.25%. The Kraken and Bitfinex exchange show the biggest intermarket spread of less than 3%. Now, before we wrap up this segment, let's take a look at some of the characteristics of Algor, which is a decentralized oracle and peer-to-peer protocol for prediction markets. It's a set of smart contracts written in Solidity, and they can be deployed on the Ethereum blockchain. The prediction market rewards those who submit correct answers, and it relies on the wisdom of the crowd. Well, the market has its own reputation cryptocurrency with the ticker REP. The Ethereum-based token surged above the $100 mark in early 2018. As of today, it trades at nearly $13. We'll now review the performance of the various cryptocurrency asset classes. We use data from the Messari website, which groups cryptocurrencies into 5 major categories. The infrastructure group shows an increase of nearly 3%, and EOS has been a bullish driver with a double-digit increase. The media and entertainment category is up by slightly more than 2%. The Theta token is driving this asset class higher with a sharp increase. The financial sector is the top performing asset group with a gain of nearly 4%, as majority of the financial cryptocurrencies are trading higher. The currency category is up by nearly 3%, and Litecoin is having a particularly bullish day, driving this segment up. While lastly, the services section posts a solid increase of approximately 3.5%. Ravane is one of the few digital assets that are trading in the red today. This is how the cryptocurrencies have performed based on their asset class so far on this Wednesday. In this final section of the market overview, we'll look at the most significant moves among the top 100 cryptocurrencies. 11 virtual assets are up by double digits as the bullish sentiment has returned to the markets. The ABBC coin shows the top gain, and it's up by nearly 25% as it appears to be on its way towards the 40-cent price level, which was previously breached less than a week ago. Bitcoin Gold dropped yesterday according to the CoinMarketCap website due to suspicious volumes coming from the Coinbit exchange. It posts a sharp rebound today as CMC has excluded the exchange's volume from price calculation. This can be seen here on the price of the chart of the past 7-day movement, as the price dropped towards the $10 zone on daily traded volume of more than $100 million yesterday. The Raven coin has been trending up during the past week, and it's up by 14% to trade at more than 2.5 cents. Litecoin rose above the $54 mark for the first time this year. This is where the asset last traded prior to the November market crash. The coin is up by triple digits from the December low of just under $23. The volatile Theta token has made a move higher to approach the 14-cent zone on an increase of 13%. Now, bulls are in control today, and just 6 of the top 100 assets are trading in the red. The Electronium coin has been trending south during the past 7 days, and it's close to 5% in the red. This comes on a relatively low traded volume of slightly over more than $400,000. The Repo token is also down by nearly 5% on a low traded volume of only $72,000. The past 30 days have been bearish for the Remain token. The digital asset posts a daily decline of 2% as it trades near the 11-cent mark. The Loom Network token has been trending up during the past week, and it posts a slight correction today. The DAI stablecoin wraps up this list, and it's virtually unchanged as it's less than 1% in the red. Well, these were the top 24-hour moves during the European morning trading session on this Wednesday. We'll now join our crypto experts Matty Greenspan, Senior Market Analyst at eToro, and Jason Fernandez, COO and co-founder of A Token. So Matty, Jason, thank you so much for joining us on the line today.
Thank you for having me.
Very welcome.
Having a good day.
Very great to have you. So we're going to start off with you, Matty. So markets have reclaimed the ground lost earlier on in the week, and March is now slightly in the green. Well, traded volume is elevated. So what's your take on the most recent move?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day in the markets. We see some upward pressure, a little bit of the bulls coming back. To be clear, we're still very much within a bear market. So even with all of this momentum, I would call it, or optimism, we're still around halfway mark in the range right now, looking at 3,000 at the bottom and about 5,000 at the top. So testing 4,000. We're not out of the woods yet.
And Jason, what's your take on the most recent moves? Were there any particular bullish drivers?
Yes, I don't think that there's been any specific news that brought this on from a fundamentals perspective. I think what happened last week is that there was a great deal of volume and interest, but the market was really not able to maintain its upward trajectory, and so it lost some momentum. But yesterday we saw volume surge again, and they hit their highest levels in 8 days. And I think that's a convincing sign that maybe the worst of the bear market might have passed. And if you look at, with the exception of Tether, all top 25 major cryptocurrencies were all reporting gains. So but I also think it's important to realize that there's like a higher correlation with Bitcoin. And if you look at Bitcoin, like the fundamentals for Bitcoin have been steadily increasing. As Bitcoin adoption has grown steadily, like the actual value of it as a coin has also grown, but its price has been going in the opposite direction. So I think at some point, of course, that was a needed correction. But I think $6,000, like $6,500 area was a reasonable place for Bitcoin. So this recent crash that took it from like the 6,000 area range to 3K, I think is a situation of investors being overcautious. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that recover over the next few months. But like certainly, we're testing the 4,000 range right now, and hopefully it will pass that. And if it does, we should see improvements across the board for the other cryptocurrencies.
And Jason, we'll start with you when we have to acknowledge Binance Coin here. It's one of the only top cryptocurrencies that has resisted the bear and continues to climb in its ranking. It's praised as one of the driving forces within the crypto space, so its value is expected to continue climbing. Well, some have even said that it might overtake Bitcoin one day. So what would you like to comment on this? Well, Jason, we'll start with you.
So do I think it overtake Bitcoin? I wouldn't hold my breath. There is a use case for Binance Coin to pay for goods and services. But Bitcoin has a much greater adoption. And if you see the challenges that Bitcoin has faced trying to get adopted, you can just imagine Binance dealing with all those challenges. I mean, that's a high degree of complexity for it to get to the point where it's, any sort of threat to Bitcoin. But I mean, there's certainly some reasons where Binance has done really well, not least of which is that CZ has been really out there and one of the most interactive crypto exchange CEOs. Also, the way the tokenomics they've constructed the tokenomics for the Binance coin, essentially you have discounts that apply when paying for trading fees. So you have 50% off the first year of operation, 25% during the second year, which is the current discount. and 12.5 in the third. And of course, there's 6.25 again in the fourth. But essentially, they've been really strong about supporting good projects and investing in new projects. So via Binance Launchpad, so we see BitTorrent and Fetch have been enormously successful, and each of them sold out in 30 seconds. And I mean, really, they've also launched the DEX test, the distributed exchange testnet. And so there's been a lot of interest and a lot of movement with Binance, and so I think that's reflected in the coin and how well it's doing.
And Matty, we have to turn to you now and ask you how you found Binance Coin, what your thoughts are on everything that we've seen, and what's your thoughts that some people are saying that it could overtake Bitcoin one day?
Yeah, so that's
Oh, and looks like we've got some connection difficulties with Matty there. So Jason, we'll follow on with the next question with you, which is Litecoin, which is on an upwards trend, and some analysts also believe it will. Oh, Matty's back in the room.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So continue where you left off. So what do we think about Binance Coin? Could it overtake Bitcoin one day?
So I'm quite bullish on Binance Coin, as you know. I've had it as one of the strongest coins in my portfolio for quite a while. Just yesterday, I was on a live broadcast with some of our high equity clients and decided to take some of those profits. No doubt, it's been zooming lately. The claims that you say it could overtake Bitcoin, I think it's pretty preposterous. It doesn't have anywhere near the brand recognition or the adoption or merchants hooked up to it or anything like that. Bitcoin is the foundation on which the crypto market stands. Binance Coin is simply a utility token. And this is one of the reasons why I think that the market may have this wrong. The reason Binance Coin has been zooming lately is because the volumes have been growing stronger. And we can see volumes across crypto exchanges now holding at above $30 billion per day. If you think about it, this is an industry that only surpassed $1 billion per day in April of 2017. So we've come a long way. And people are basically speculating that Binance, as a broker, is going to be able to, as the crypto market continues to grow, that is going to be able to maintain some of its market share. Now, the issue with this is, as Jason mentioned, it's simply, it's simply a utility token. And what it does is it gives you a discount when you're trading Binance Coin on the Binance platform. So it doesn't have many other uses. And I even spoke with CZ directly on Twitter the other day, and I was asking him, if maybe one day BNB will be able to, or BNB Coin will be able to share profits of Binance with the users, and his answer was no, that's not what this is here for, and that would actually classify BNB token as a security, which nobody really wants because that comes with an entire headache of SEC and regulation and all of those things. So Binance Coin at this point is simply a utility token. I have taken advantage of it because there's a lot of momentum behind it, but I do believe that that's based on the kind of a false perception from the market.
Do you think there's still momentum to go, Matty, or do you think you've taken advantage of it and it's not going to continue much more?
Well, I've closed about a third of my position, so that might tell you a little bit about where I'm standing. There's a lot of momentum here. This is a rather bullish pattern that we see at the top. The lows are getting higher, and we're kind of coming at this kind of flat level of resistance at 1350. And if we zoom out, obviously, we come back to the token's beginnings. We've got a lot of room to grow, right? It was up at January at around $22.50, $23 per coin. We're now at around half that. So certainly there's a lot of room to grow, especially as we do see the volumes in the crypto market growing. But obviously with caution, these things can be pretty risky sometimes.
Okay, and Matty, we'll stay with you when we talk about Litecoin, which is on an upward trend. Now, some analysts believe it will continue on that way. What's acting in the favor of Litecoin in this bullish momentum that we have seen?
Yeah, so Litecoin is another one that's been at the top of my portfolio for quite a while already. The simple reason is that Litecoin is the second most well-established coin in the market right after Bitcoin. It has an extremely strong community. You can see it on Reddit. People with the with people that, very much in favor. I mean, they're not as vocal as some of the other crypto communities out there, but I've noticed myself every time I post something on Twitter, or every time I speak about it in a video or in a blog, I always get very positive responses from the Litecoin community, and they're very excited about it. The major thing that's been driving Litecoin, and I believe that Litecoin, along with Ethereum, have kind of been driving this entire market higher since the lows in mid-December, is because that Litecoin has a halving event coming up in early August. So basically, we're talking about block rewards that are going to be cut in half, which drastically reduces the inflation. And these type of things have a general tendency to be priced into the markets well in advance of the actual event. So this is why it's been zooming. And we can see this on the graph. I mean, even more drastic than we did with Binance Coin. Right now, we're trading at around $55 per coin, and look at those all-time highs around $350. So certainly plenty of room to grow here if we do get out of this bear and we do get into a bullish market like some people are thinking.
Great, thank you. And now, Jason, we'll turn our attention to you because social media networks around the world have concrete plans to launch cryptocurrencies of their own. So we've asked you both of these questions before. It's great to have you on the line, Jason from India and Matty from Tel Aviv. Would this mean that crypto would instantly be brought to billions of people worldwide this year? Can we now say that mass adoption is around the corner, or will this drive give up the market? Jason, we'll start with you.
So I think the thing about this is that it will likely get a lot of people to use crypto, perhaps even seamlessly, and that would ensure mainstream adoption. If they don't think that that's what they're exactly doing, it would certainly help give people a certain degree of comfort with cryptocurrencies, and they say the true test of adoption is basically when people are using it without actually even realizing they're using it. But it's really important to realize that Facebook is not, they don't win at everything. I mean, they've lost. Like if you consider some of their recent products that have failed, Facebook Home, Facebook Inbox, where Facebook was going to be an email address, Facebook Deals, which is going to compete with Groupon, Facebook's Gifts, which is supposed to take on Amazon. These have all, failed spectacularly and have left Facebook red-faced. So, and also, I mean, perhaps more importantly, you really have to look at Facebook Credits, which is something that they introduced, which is essentially a virtual currency for buying goods on Farmville and other games. That launched in 2011, but phased out by September 2013 because people said it was confusing and restrictive. So Facebook has failed at this before, and essentially, it's not that everything they touch will turn to gold necessarily, but they certainly have a lot of market penetration, and so they do have the ability to move a lot of people onto crypto. It just really depends what form Facebook's coin is going to take. I mean, it all comes down to execution and whether that's paired with, for example, Bitcoin. If it was paired with Bitcoin, that would raise the price of Bitcoin. But it really depends how exactly they construct the Facebook coin in the first place.
And Matty, what's your thoughts? Can we now say that mass adoption is around the corner?
I believe that it is, but I think the question needs to be clarified. Mass adoption of what? We don't know what Facebook is working on. Mm-hmm. We understand that it's most likely a stable coin that's going to be on the WhatsApp platform. But we can actually point to a very recent similar type of service that was launched in Japan from Mizuho, who came out with their own stable coin, which is pegged to the yen. One of my friends in Japan actually sent me a few screenshots of this app. The app doesn't differentiate that this is a cryptocurrency at all. It just shows his balance in yens, similar to any other, Venmo or payments app. And I believe that that's very likely what we're going to get from, Facecoin or WhatsApp coin or whatever they decide to call it in the end. Simply something where you can see your balance in US dollars and you can send it, to other people who are using WhatsApp, or trade it even outside of it. It seems very much that they're even going to go outside of the WhatsApp environment. They could very likely go towards merchant adoption and having people pay in the grocery store with WhatsApp. coin and allowing them to easily buy and sell it. That's kind of maybe some sort of a stable coin, but this isn't really affecting, in my mind, really what Bitcoin and some of the others are trying to do or are already doing on the ground. This is something that's kind of completely separate.
And you made an interesting point there where you said that actually you could go into the grocery store, for example. So today there was a news report out on the UK noting that cash might not be used within the next 2 to 5 years. So Matty, we'll start with you. Can you comment on what this means and could mean from a cryptocurrency perspective?
It's a bit of a scary thought, I guess. Part of the advantage of cash that you can be able to kind of have some level of privacy. Generally speaking, when money is digitized, there's a lot greater level of tracking, which is one of the reasons why I really like Zcash, for example, which is kind of like it's almost just like Bitcoin, but it has the option to kind of make your transactions private. We don't always want every single thing that we pay money for to be public information that everybody can know about. I tend to use cash as much as I can, but I obviously have a credit card and bank account, and I realize that whatever I spend there is being watched, and I think that people should be a bit more aware of that as well.
And 2 to 5 years, Matty, do you think that's too soon? Do you think that is kind of overestimating the industry right now?
Well, it depends where. I believe that it'll happen in some places faster than others. In some of the Nordic countries, Sweden and Norway, they're already pretty much cashless. In Japan, for example, they're very much reliant on cash for their day-to-day transactions, which is which might cause a problem when they come to the Olympics next year, and they're trying to crunch for that. But in countries where smartphone penetration hasn't reached the full population, it's not going to happen as fast there either. So yeah, sure, it's already happened in some places, and it'll take longer than 5 years in other places. So I think it really depends where.
And Jason, let's hear your perspective on the statement that cash might not be used within the next 2 to 5 years. What do you think that means for the cryptocurrency space as it stands today?
So we may move to a cashless society quickly, but large banks may end up functioning internally like crypto companies anyway, essentially sending crypto back and forth instead of currency, similar to JP Morgan coin and some of the other coins that we've seen. So crypto may end up replacing cash anyway, but just not quite in the way we may hope. As in, it might, we have these centralized silos, essentially, sending money back and forth. So we might end up using, similar to what Matty was saying with the Japanese example. They may not actually realize that they're using crypto, under the hood, but maybe once they do, it might lead to some of them maybe feeling more comfortable towards moving to crypto. I mean, we've seen that there's sort of this high tension between banks and cryptocurrencies. I mean, I think they've already identified that this is sort of a potential problem. I mean, French bank BNP Paribas released a report where they discussed technology behind cryptocurrency and how it could make essentially traditional banks redundant. And even a UK banking report recently said that cryptocurrencies represent a threat to traditional bank. Most importantly, if they ignore new customer behaviors and preferences, because a lot of people are extremely not quite so trusting about banks and central governments as much as they used to be. So that might, crypto might actually end up being a significant basically hedge against. I'm talking about decentralized crypto may end up becoming a significant hedge against the centralized crypto that's being pushed by JP Morgan, et cetera, et cetera. But it might work out that crypto ultimately replaces cash altogether, and then you'll sort of have this centralized versus decentralized cryptocurrency argument.
Fantastic. Well, they were really interesting points. Thank you both, Matty and Jason, for joining us on the line during our live show today. It was an absolute pleasure to hear both of your insights. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, before we sign off, I do have a last-minute update from our editorial staff regarding the crypto market. The total market capitalization has remained virtually unchanged near the $133 billion level, following the most recent rise. Trading activity has eased back slightly, and the 24-hour traded volume is below the $35 billion mark. Litecoin is the most bullish of the large-cap cryptos, and the altcoin printed a fresh high for the year as it briefly tapped above the $56 level. Well, that's all for this Wednesday's Crypto Now live show. We thank Matty Greenspan and Jason Fernandez for their expert analysis, and we thank you, the audience, for joining us, and invite you all to accompany us every weekday at this same time.